Hello, I'm Thomas Hare, Chief Content Officer of the Performance Driven Marketing Institute, a not-for-profit trade association that serves companies in the performance and direct-to-consumer marketing world. Welcome to the latest episode of Take 20, created by the PDMI's Brand Response Council. These 20-minute or so live conversations featuring leaders in the performance marketing world speaking about the hottest topics in the industry are scheduled every other Wednesday. Before we get to today's conversation, a quick housekeeping note for those of you who haven't joined us before. We'll be addressing any questions from the audience at the end of today's session, but you don't have to wait to ask them. You can use the questions tab on your control panel to type and send your question in. We'll collect them and we'll try to get to as many as possible in the final moments of the episode. So, performance video's expansion has been accelerated not only by new TV technology, but even more so by advertising on social media, the growth of influencer marketing, and the rapid emergence of YouTube. Today, Take 20 host and PDMI Brand Response Council Chair Chris Foster of Modern Postcard welcomes a great trio of PDMI member leaders, TurboRank's Bautista, BB3 Advertising's Ariel Benz, and Marketing Maven's Lindsey Carnett, who have enjoyed great success in driving leads and sales for performance brands that are pushing the envelope with these new video technologies and more. I want to say welcome to all of you. All four of you are instructors for PDMI University, so we want to thank you for being wonderful volunteers and sharing your expertise across the PDMI suite of products. So thanks for all for being here. Chris, take it away.
Great. Well, we're so excited to have all of you here, and thank you so much for joining. In addition to the changes in tactics and technologies within marketing and performance space, we're also now experiencing greater creation of entirely new marketing channels, right? X number of years ago, there wasn't CTV. X number of years ago, there wasn't actually TikTok as a shopping channel. These channels are emerging quickly, and they're permeating throughout teams and budgets at a rapid pace. TikTok, for example, began as a fun place for goofy video content, but now it's become an absolute retail powerhouse channel. And individuals can now make a living just by promoting and influencing brands, right? It's a brand new world. Just a couple of statistics to throw out there. In the US, influencer spending is projected to reach over $9 billion by 2025. That's up $7 billion in 2023. That's up $7 billion just in 2 years. The creator economy grew 22+% year over year, and globally about 26% of brands allocate over 40% of their marketing budget to influencer partnerships. It's a dramatically new space for retail and for consumer marketing. And for YouTube Shorts surpasses about 70 billion daily views, making up about 70% of the YouTube content uploads and about 80% of viewer engagement. Now, I just want you guys to think about this. It's 70 billion daily views. There are 9 billion people on planet Earth.
What's up with that math?
Right. I mean, come on. That's a lot of views, right? For not all 9 billion people are watching, but it's a staggering statistic in terms of true global exposure. So, for marketers, it can be this wide open bucolic pasture, promising purchases, revenue, rainbows, unicorns, and all this great stuff, or it can be a landmine with mistakes and maybe misspent budget. So it's an interesting space. There's so much going on, and thankfully, to help us walk through the unknown with more confidence and security, we have these fantastic masters of their craft. So let's go around the table first. The first question for all of you is just to ask you to please briefly introduce yourself and what your agency does. Lindsey, let's start with you.
Hi, I'm Lindsey Carnett. I'm the CEO and president of Marketing Maven. And Marketing Maven is a full service integrated marketing agency. So we'll do market research, which is like a deep dive. Then we'll do the strategy and then the implementation. And on the implementation side, it could include public relations, social media marketing, influencer marketing, digital advertising. So it's a full suite of services.
Fantastic. Marianne, you're up.
Okay, I'm the Marianne Bautista, the co-founder of TurboRank, and I took a very deep dive into YouTube back in 2008 and have decided to pivot our entire focus to YouTube because it is a huge marketing tool that is grossly underused by most brands and businesses.
Great, and I'm going to ask you some more questions on that later. Ariel, you wrap it up.
Absolutely. So Ariel Brooks-Benz, I am the CEO of BB3 Advertising. We are an omni-channel direct response agency, and we really focus on challenger brands. And we are media agnostic in terms of where we start clients. We try to meet them where their brand is in their business cycle.
Fantastic. All right, so let's just jump in. Lindsey, I'd like to start with you, where your agency is truly full service, like you had mentioned, from digital integrated PR, et cetera. When you talk about channels with implementation, after you've done the research and you've done the strategy, what channels are they more excited about, or how do you figure out which channels might be best for your client?
Well, I like to use the analogy of like, which child is your favorite child? You're not gonna say, oh, this one's my favorite child, but it's how it all works together. Really, that's the strategy. It's like, okay, we have a family unit. This is not my favorite child, and this is not my favorite child. We're all special together, and it's whatever works for that brand and their business objectives. And that's why it's so important to look first and see, what are the business objectives? The business objectives could be, hey, we want to drive retail, and so we need to do targeting because they're only in Costco on the West Coast and they want to grow into Costco on the East Coast. And we have a case study like that, and that was the main goal. And so for that, you know, you want to be able to drive and use the influencers that are in Costco, amplify them via digital media, have an email campaign that is telling that audience, hey, we're going to be launching here, here's the countdown, that sort of thing. So everything is crafted based on the business goals, and the media mix, it's like you mentioned, meeting people where they are and meeting them where their business objectives are, pulls in the right pieces to make a integrated campaign that delivers whatever the business outcomes are.
And I have to think, though, that as a marketing executive, you're excited about these new channels because it gives you more options.
Yeah. I mean, one of our core values is being futuristic. And so we like to work with clients that are also futuristic and want to test these new ways of reaching consumers. And like, even for this chair company, they were just doing traditional television advertising for one audience. We did the research, found out that there are these 3 other personas, and we're able to open up a whole new revenue channel for them and figure out, hey, this could also be a gaming chair company. So it's also used for product development, which could open up a whole new audience and opens up all of these other channels like Twitch, and, you know, then you have your YouTubers, and then you have all of these different channels that open up if you do the work ahead of time.
Well, and you know what's interesting is that on this Take 20, you have now become an influencer promoting that chair. You're not just the executive, you're also the talent.
Is there a big rev share check coming?
15, there is actually, yeah.
So Ariel, speaking of talent, and you know, you're an omni-channel agency that focuses on the challenger brands. I have to believe that challenger brands are loving the opportunity that TikTok and TikTok influencers bring to them, so they can compete with some of these other players. Does that ring true?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that influencer marketing has really kind of become an equalizer in the space, because it allows there to be a really low barrier of entry to getting in front of the consumer that you want to be in front of, and getting that feedback loop, as Lindsey was saying, where you can get so much information back on what's working and what's not working about your core messaging or about your products. And that's obviously huge for smaller brands that are trying to come into the marketplace. They may be more constrained by their budgets.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think for you now, coming from the omnichannel performance space, finding these new channels and looking at how they can be used for various brands, that must be exciting for you professionally as well.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun for us. I think we started about 8 years ago bringing in influencer marketing. And then, of course, with TikTok, they launched their beta for TikTok Shop a couple of years ago, just before we launched in the US. So we've had a lot of fun getting to learn these tools. And obviously, it's an ever-changing algorithm game. But overall, what we've seen is that it works really well for clients. There's a lot of really positive feedback and great case studies around the success of brands growing and kind of getting to critical scale before they even have to start spending a lot of money on paid endeavors.
That's fantastic. There can be a lot of learning. That's interesting is you're building new, because you had to build new skills, right? As a marketer, you had to learn these new things. Marianne, clearly you built a whole array of new skills by pivoting your business in a major way towards YouTube marketing. Can you tell me about why you decided to do that? Because that was a pretty dramatic shift. If I'm understanding correctly, you had been in the performance marketing as a performance marketing agency for a while and knew that space intimately, but consciously made this move. Tell us about it.
Well, it started with one client that really had a lot of restrictions around what they could do. And so we dove really deep into YouTube because we had this opportunity and they were just begging and wanting, new channels. So we really learned the skill set of YouTube on the back of this one client. And then it, YouTube just kept growing, right? So 35 billion hours of shopping a year occur on YouTube. So I knew that it would dovetail really beautifully for performance, especially e-commerce. And similar to what Ariel's talking about with the TikTok shop, YouTube has YouTube shop. And so there are performance sort of tactics within YouTube, but it is complicated because it is YouTube serves many masters. It's, a search engine, it's a social media, it's a discovery platform. So it's an entertainment platform for sure. So you need to know how to use it correctly in order to grab those searches that are happening every single day in and around your category and looking for your solution.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And I think that, I guess what I'm interested about, and maybe Marianne, I do want to kind of stay with you if you don't mind. When you're talking about now YouTube marketing with clients who haven't tried it and don't understand it as well as they might understand linear CTV or display or direct mail, what are these common first questions you receive, and how do you kind of bring them into this world of looking at that marketing channel?
Well, I think there are really two that come up most often. The first is this actually a performance platform? Can I actually achieve real performance metrics, KPIs? Luckily, the answer is yes, although it does not happen overnight. It's not like turning a faucet on, like DRTV used to be, or DR radio, or other kinds of medias. But yes, there is a path toward that for sure, and there are lots and lots of benchmarking along the way that you can tell that you're on the right path. With gaining subscribers, gaining views, and then there's a whole bunch of DR tactics in terms of the actual content. And then I would say the second thing is, so the second question that I often get is, do I have to have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of video production to be able to play in the space? And the answer is absolutely no. There is a ton of repurposing of existing content that can work really beautifully, and you would be amazed at what you can do with this thing. It can, and then of course you've got all the AI tools and so many quicker, easier, simpler ways to create content. But what it really boils down to start with is reverse engineering what kind of content you need from the beginning. Similar to what Lindsey said, we absolutely do the research up front. We perform a very deep dive diagnostic to make sure that we are on the right track and headed in the right direction for your specific offer.
And I'm assuming that with the YouTube platform, there's targeting capabilities. You can figure out and determine your audience and things like that.
On the paid side, yes.
On the paid side. So I guess, and that's a question I'd like to throw to you, Ariel, if you don't mind. We're familiar with targeting audiences, either doing mailing lists or doing some audience development through, LiveRamp, or even on Facebook, you can, gender, interests, and things like that. Can you talk about the targeting algorithm or audience building that's different, right? Is it a different mechanism when you go to YouTube versus TikTok or maybe X or Facebook? Are they generally the same, or are there nuances between those platforms?
Well, I think in terms of like the organic algorithms, they all have slight nuances. I mean, they're all part of the attention economy, right? So they all want you to stay on platform as long as possible. So they have slightly different tactics on how they want to accomplish that. For example, on YouTube, obviously, we're really heavily reliant on keywords, right? So many people are typing literally in like what they want to know, right? So that's sort of unique to YouTube, but that's also increasingly happening on TikTok and on Instagram. But for example, Instagram, it's really engagement driven, right? It's who you're interacting with, it's who you're slowing down your scroll for, it's sort of how you're spending your time on it and who you're engaging with. That's how they determine how they should be serving you content and how they're building out who you're getting to see on the platform. Whereas on TikTok, it is very much a For You page algorithm starting point. So they really focus on trends and interest based. So I happen to look at lots of stuff around AI. So I basically can't find any fashion content on my TikTok anymore because it's all AI. So that's what TikTok will find is what's your interest and what are you slowing down on as well? How can we keep you interested in staying on that platform as long as possible?
You know, it's so fun. It's so funny you say that because I should be on it more, but I was interested in the Curiosity mission on Mars, right? It's from NASA. It's sending pictures from Mars. I'm like, this is amazing. This is so cool. This is what the night sky looks at Mars. And then suddenly I'm getting all this other stuff about space, right? And then I saw this one funny, it's a stupid 10-minute laugher of AI babies making dad jokes.
Yeah. And
suddenly then I think that's all that's on TikTok. The only thing on TikTok are these AI babies telling dad jokes. So clearly it's about, you know, what you're seeing. So with keywords, engagement, or the trends and interests, and then to Marianne's comment on YouTube about being paid with audience, at some point budget comes into play. And so Lindsey, I'd like to go back to you, even though you love all of your children, you know, one plays hockey, one plays basketball, one plays soccer. You've got budget. You have to allocate some budget to your children in some ways. How do you allocate sensibly? How do you recommend allocating budget to these various channels? And is it by percentage? Is it by the response? Walk us through that.
Yeah, I mean, we do allocate based on, like, again, going back to the business objective. If the objective is to drive direct sales on a particular landing page, or this is to drive retail, you know, then there are two masters essentially. Like, one is to drive retail sales and one is to drive direct sales. And then you have to look at the channels that you're going to use to achieve each of those goals. And so then you could figure out, okay, am I going to go 50-50, or am I going to go 60% to retail, 40% to direct sales, or then what percentage am I using toward Amazon sales, for example? And then that's a whole nother bucket of money. And so it's really take 100%, figure out what the competing business objectives are, put the budget in the correct place, and then look at all of the tactics that you need to be able to back into what are the results that you want to achieve for that specific business objective. And, you know, I think your question also was tied to like email marketing, display, social media, and I wouldn't spend any budget on social media advertising without first spending it on influencers and getting the rights to the content, and then transforming their content into digital ads and then running those on social media. Because every single time we run digital ads, the influencer related ads perform better than just normal brand ads every single time. So,
you know, cognitively though, it makes sense because people trust people more than they trust brands.
Right. Sure. And you have to use all the appropriate disclosures, make sure you have your FTC, you know, required disclosures, make sure that you have your contract with the influencers, that you are actually allowed to use their content for the digital ads. But that is definitely part of this budget allocation. If you are doing anything on digital that you are considering running social ads, I would first get the, like, even if they're tiny little nano influencers or they're micro influencers, it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. You get content for $500 up to $2,500, but get the rights to it. Just to get the content itself is not good enough. You must get the rights to it to use it for digital advertising and through these other channels. Because even if you're talking about email marketing, well, email with influencer content and using a YouTube video that Marianne would create with an influencer is going to perform better than just some normal brand propaganda.
Yep. People are done with the chest thumping. Go ahead, Marianne. I'm sorry.
we have a great trick for that. We put out on an individual, and we do it organically. We put out, say, 10 or 15 different pieces of content onto their channel and do not promote any of it. Just let the organic algorithm happen, and it will absolutely inform upfront which piece of that content is best to sponsor and to exploit on a paid manner, on a paid basis.
Well, that's really interesting, because what you know, it used to be groundbreaking, you know, a couple of years ago to do social media first to test what messaging works and then use that for linear. But now what you're saying is that you can actually test more easily without actually spending any money, looking at the organic data come through before you apply spend.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to spend ad dollars to do it.
Yeah,
obviously,
that's
to set it up and implement it. But yeah, it's a great way because it allows the audience that is actually already looking for your solution to vote, and they are always right. Until you do that, you're just guessing.
That's true. Yeah, you know, the users tell you what they want. That's absolutely true in some form or fashion. Well, gang, we are already at 11:25, but I've got one more question. We could be here for hours because you're so engaging and you guys know your stuff so well. I'm sorry that we have to end it. And this is just to all three of you. You've got Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, these various little promo movies that are doing, you know, the full funnel within, you know, a handful of seconds. Do these platforms compete with one another, or are they stitched and integrated together and you have to be on all three?
I think you have to be on all three, depending on your product. You know, there are some products that may not be as great a fit. You know, if you're doing something for 65 plus, TikTok is a little rough for that right now. But if you have a product that's hitting anywhere between that 18 to 54, really most of our clients are on all three, and they're on all three for different reasons. And more than just the three, but you know, the three big ones. You know, we're looking at Instagram for like aesthetic and content and community branding. We're looking at TikTok for direct sales, really leveraging that TikTok shop. And we're looking at YouTube for that longer form content that has that trust factor that you don't get with the other two shorter platforms. And if you get them all working together and you get your content being repurposed correctly, you can really win with all three of them working together.
All three children are loved equally. And they
I 100% agree with Ariel. I think you need to do all three. I think that just because I'm a YouTube expert, on YouTube you absolutely can answer in more depth and you can have a higher conversion point from that content because you have this long form content that's not limited to 30, 62 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's interesting, and I think I love the way you three have kind of show the nuances between the platforms, right? That, you know, like all of our children, some read better, play music, or play sports than others, but we love them all, to Lindsey's point. Well, this is incredible. I'm sure we have some questions from the audience. So Thomas, lay it on us.
Yeah, wonderful, guys. Thank you so much for a great conversation. First question that came in, are there any new platforms on the horizon that could likely disrupt the media landscape like the ones we've talked about today?
I think that what's the big disrupting factor in my world is search. So search is changing dramatically. As you likely know, YouTube is owned by Google. And so it gives high preference. Google gives high preference to YouTube search. But with the integration of the AI, ChatGPT, and Clouds and all of these, search is changing a lot. And so we have marketing tools that help us to integrate our clients into those. You know, we've got great success with already getting our clients into those AI search answers. So I think that versus another platform, it's the way the platforms are changing. That's my, and they're changing so rapidly.
I'll piggyback on that just in terms of SEO. Now it's GEO, generative engine optimization, and that, I mean, we've been getting a huge demand for more PR because we can impact what goes in that AI summary part on a Google search. It's linking to third-party credible editorial coverage, and so the value of PR, if you didn't think it was valuable before, it is extra valuable now because it is impacting exactly what's in the summary.
Yep.
So that's to Marianne's point. I mean, yeah.
Until Cloudflare shuts us all down.
Right. Or TikTok sold, like, I mean, that's the other, just the external factors I think are more of a risk, just based on where budgets are going. When TikTok got a little bit iffy, we had a lot of clients pull back on budgets with that. For the 72 hours it was down or whatever it was. And then everybody's boom, right back on it. So.
Yeah, I think probably the only other app we're hearing about and clients are starting to ask us about is the Whatnot shopping app. Obviously, with live streaming on TikTok becoming such a large thing and an active, Gary Vee and people like that out there heavily promoting it, Whatnot is sort of a complement to that, and it's positioning itself to be a competitor. But as we all know, it's really hard to dethrone these large platforms. So we'll see how well they do in the coming years.
Great. As influencer marketing has grown more mature, what's the biggest change for brands in finding, securing, and working with influencers?
I think it's the fact that now everybody's demanding more money for using, nobody wants to give you their content in perpetuity. When influencer marketing started, you could negotiate rights to everything forever, like everything in perpetuity, whatever. And now they're asking for another $2,000, another $4,000 just to use the content for an extra 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. They're like tiny little time frames. And if you want to use the content for another year, they're like, okay, that's another $5,000. And you're like, what? I don't even know if it's going to work well yet.
Yeah. I think probably the other thing is the shift that we've seen, which I think is super positive, from the larger influencers into the nano and micro space. And we've always been big believers in that space. And what we saw after Cannes Lion and everybody's conversations over the summer is that everybody's doubling down on more authentic, smaller creators to have better engagement.
Great. Budgeting. There was a lot of conversation about budgeting. Do any of you, or each of you, what's been the most successful tack you've been able to take in convincing clients to shift budget into these formats?
I can definitely answer that. Our fees come in, generally speaking, around 1 to 2% of an ad budget. And so our argument is, or our proposition is, double screening is happening. Everyone is searching after they see ads, and you are truly missing that opportunity and handing over that lead to the better optimized client within YouTube and Google. So that's how we proposition that or present that. We just keep it really small because it's, and then of course later, if we want to add on paid, they want to do YouTube Shop, if they want to go to the paid, then obviously budgets need to increase. But just to have a really great optimized account, it's not that much money.
Yeah, I think we really build out the value of, with influencer marketing, that it's not just influencer marketing and it's not just content. It's, to your point, as we were talking about, we want the content. It builds out your organic. It creates that conversation. It builds your community. You can use it for your paid ads by testing it organically, and whatever works, absolutely use that. Use that messaging for other platforms. It's also social proof, which is so key. We use it for email marketing, as Lindsey said earlier. And we also put it on product pages on websites to help with SEO and that social proof, where you're actually getting people to do side-by-sides or before and afters and these types of things. So there's so much more value to an influencer than most people used to think of an influencer, which is just somebody has 5,000 followers and 5,000 people may have seen you, roughly, give or take. Now what we try to make clients understand is that this is giving you free content. This is giving you content that's native to the platforms. It's giving you high converting content for your email, for your socials, your paid, and other endeavors. So we try to make sure that they see the true value of influencer marketing, and that normally sells itself.
We created an ROI calculator, and this is based on an Excel formula that basically shows what is the average cost per thousand, how many clicks are you going to get to your website based on cost per click, based on all of these different channels, and based on, if you had an influencer budget of what, and then an ad budget of what on these platforms, these are the industry averages, and then it reverse engineers like, okay, these are the two key factors. The key factors are the conversion percentage on your website and the average order value. And if those two factors prove out, and that's why you can do different scenarios too, like very conservative or whatever. If you have that baseline data, then you can plug in the numbers, then you can reverse engineer. This is the type of ROI you could expect, and this is how you should plan on budgeting if you're looking for these business outcomes. And this has been a really helpful tool in helping, especially companies that are launching new products, a lot of international companies that are bringing products to the US, to look at the US market and look at these channels to see what should I be budgeting for and what can expected outcomes look like. We always outperform the expected outcomes because we go extra conservative. And so, you know, that's part of the key factor. If the projections on the conversion rates and the average order value are actually realistic.
Great. I'm going to try to wedge one more in here. It just came in a couple minutes ago. As audio and video continue to converge, particularly in podcasting, are there any emerging performance strategies that you're seeing that leverage the strengths of both mediums?
Yep. Go ahead, Ariel. You start.
It's YouTube based, so I figure you definitely have something to say on this as well, but that's where we're really seeing that success. We actually work with several large influencers in the YouTube space that have their audio podcasts but have built out their video, and increasingly we are seeing everybody's making that shift, which is fantastic because we love the visual. It converts incredibly well. The tracking is better. There's a lot of really huge benefits to having both the video and the audio podcast. And we're doing it mostly as baked-in reads. So we're contracting people for multi-touch campaigns. We're having them speak from their experience, tying it into their organic content, and we see that as converting incredibly well across the board for our clients.
On the video side, there are levers to be pulled to get distribution. On the audio side, it's very limited. There's very few things you can actually do for an audio podcast to generate more views, more listens. On the video side, there's a lot of things that we can do, but it really starts with that reverse engineering. Is there existing audience that is going to be intrigued if they can discover you? And so you need to have that information up front so that you know what kind of content to produce.
We're booking clients on video podcasts as a PR function. So just the same as you would book media for a television interview or with a journalist of a newspaper or magazine, etc., we're booking them as a guest on a podcast. So it's not a paid fee, it's earned media. And that content is getting syndicated out there through the channels of the podcast. So podcasts, even if they have a small audience, are great for SEO because you have that distribution. And a lot of times you'll get like a summary of the podcast too, in terms of being able to get a blog on it, something like that, and then it would have a backlink back to your website. So some people are like, well, is this a big podcast? And that really shouldn't be the question. You might want to do more small podcasts, just that way you get your message out there and it's permeating the keyword sphere out there. So and then you could repurpose it, to Marianne's point, on YouTube, and then you would have the transcript of it as well.
That's wonderful.
I'm going to jump back in here. Thank you all so much for your expertise today, your thoughts. Really great conversation. Chris, thanks for running the show as always. Lindsey, Ariel, Marianne, amazing work. Our next Take 20 episode is set for Wednesday, August 20th, when we'll feature a conversation on the latest information performance marketers need about using data effectively and safely to maximize the success of their campaigns. Please visit thepdmi.com/take-20 to register for the webinar and check out our upcoming schedule. And a reminder that online registration for PDMI Est in San Diego continues rolling. Badges are priced at just $3.95 for PDMI members and $5.95 for non-members. It's a $100 discount from on-site registration. And badge holders earn access to discounted hotel rooms in our block at the Host Hotel Intercontinental San Diego. Our room block is currently priced about $200 less than the hotel's online rate. So we urge you to jump in and get moving, because that rate is only guaranteed right now through August 28th. Visit thepdmi.com/PDMI-West for more. Thanks again for checking out this episode of the Take 20. Be well. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.